Good morning, good evening and good afternoon, ladies and gents, and welcome to Riot Civil Unrest. Now, this game came out about a week or so ago now, and I found it last night, and I am already obsessed. By the time this video goes up, I've been playing it for about a day and a half, and I am obsessed. However, looking on the discussion pages and looking on the Steam forums and everything, a lot of people are hating on it and saying they don't understand how to play, they don't understand how the game works, they don't understand how the mechanics work, and personally, I don't find that problem at all. I've gotten to grips with the game really fast, I understand the gist of how it works, and so I thought I would go ahead and use the resources of YouTube to try and assist everyone and give everyone kind of little tutorials on how to play as the rebels and how to play as the police. So we are going to start off with the rebels, and there's some very simple tactics that you can use to get yourself through the story mode and basically win as the rebels and complete your objectives. So within the story mode, you of course have Spain, Italy, Greece, and basically the Middle East, which as far as I can work out, is just Turkey and Syria during the Arab Springs, but a lot of the like places and names and stuff have been changed, I'm guessing for political reasons. So depending on where you are, what map you're on, the situation and what the objective you're trying to complete is, with the rebels and police you have to act differently depending on where you are and what the situation is. But this first video I'll be doing will be covering the rebels only. Now, I highly suggest you stay on too easy, because I get this game, I understand how it works, and I've been playing some of the maps on challenging, and they are like, this game does not mess about. They are hard. Like, once you get to the grips of the game, they're too easy. The first, like, 1 or 2 missions of each place is pretty easy. Once you start getting into the lower levels, like the last 1 or 2, they start getting pretty difficult. Once you get onto challenging, it really is challenging. I haven't even gone for Lawless at the moment. I dread to think how hard Lawless is. Maybe I'll play it on my Twitch stream further down the line. But you want to stick on too easy to start with, and there's 2 types of resistance, or there's 2 types of movement for the rebels. There's static and there's resistance, okay? Because the main objectives you'll have is either to stay in an area and stop the police from pushing you out, to push the police out of an area or gain access to an area, or destroy buildings or objects that the police are protecting. Now, some of these scenarios that I create to show various game types and strategies will be within these missions, and some will be using the custom game mode that you can create from the main menu. So to start off with, I will talk about static and just holding your position when the police are trying to move you out of a location. So for the static holding a position for the rebels, the key thing is the police. It doesn't matter if the police get violent, and it doesn't matter if the police surround you, because their objective is not to surround you. Their objective is to remove you from the area, and there's a very simple way of getting past that. So with the Rioters setup, if you're not worried about having combat or anything, then you can leave these flag quantities at severe or some, it really doesn't matter. And especially for occupy objectives like this, you can leave yourselves as defenseless, it really does not matter. Now, the more flags you have, the less people will fight if it gets violent. And the more defensive gear you have, the less people you have participating in the riot. Now, with the available items, this is very important. Some of these available items are useless. They are just there to be available items. They are practically useless. The ones I use the majority of the time are the picture camera, which is your absolute best friend in any mission. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're Rioters, the picture camera is your best friend. The megaphone is useful, but on an occupy situation, it's not useful. The megaphone, what it does is if your Rioters are in a set location and you need everyone to come and back up that set location, you select that group, you use the megaphone, and everyone will rush to you. Personally, I don't use it much. The situation I always have is firecrackers, the camera, either the Molotov or the Molotov Plus. For innocent ones like this, I'll just go with the Molotov, and the last one I have will either be the extra rocks if I think it's going to get weird and risky, or the social media because it calls in some backup if people start getting dragged away. So we are on the first mission of Spain on the 15M. Now this is very simple. These police have to remove us from this darkened circle, and there is a very easy way to stop that. You want to click on each one, come up to this hold position, click it, and just put them on a location. Press tab to move over to the next one, get your hold position, and down. And you want to do that for every single one, and just pack them in to a circle. Get all your guys to move in, wait till they calm down, get them all packed into a circle. Now, with force, if these guys get packed up with force, they can still move you out. And especially if these guys chuck in smoke, they can move you out. The next thing you want to do is, once you've got them all packed into an area like this, is wait for this cooldown timer to go and sit them all down. Okay? Now, if you want me to go into more detail on everything like strategies, use of your equipment, all this kind of stuff, morale, when to change to offensive mode, leave a comment down in the description and I will go into so much more detail with this game because there are loads of things you can learn. Now, the cooldown timer's gone, so I'm going to have all of my guys sit down. And they will all slowly sit down, and I promise you, this, for an Occupy movement, is unmovable. Because even if they chuck smoke in now, some of these guys are going to get up and run away, but they will come back. Now, the one you want to be on here is the picture camera, and you want to have it on who you think is going to react first. So I think these guys are going to shoot in smoke to try and clear us out first. So I'll have these guys on the camera, on the weapons. So you see they're putting in a little pressure, but they see that it's not working. And you try and capture that smoke as soon as you possibly can, because it will give you massive, massive political gain for the next objective. Now, the key thing with the Rioters is you want to stay calm as long as you possibly can, because the calmer you are, and the more the police abuse you, and the more you can catch it on camera, you will get a massive, massive increase for the next map. And the political and military favour in terms of your side will be huge, and you will get so many more people participating in the demonstration. And the more people you have participating in demonstration, the easier each level is to complete. It really is the Russian style of World War II. It is quantity over quality for the Rioters, without a doubt. It is quantity over quality. The more you can get in, the better. Now you'll see here, the police, I'm just going to use up this camera so I don't have it on my cursor. The police are surrounding me here. Their objective is not to surround me. I cannot lose by them surrounding me. The only way I can lose is if they remove all of these people from this circle. And having all four of these groups sitting down, that's not going to happen, regardless of what they do. Because the police in this scenario because it's early days and they're not looking for violence, they will not be equipped with anything but smoke. They will not have anything but smoke. Now, they might put a little bit of violence to try and move us away, but as long as we stay here, we will have massive advantage for the next mission. And when you're doing a static, tactic like this, the most important thing you can do is not to resort to violence. Just leave them. Just leave them and don't touch them. The only thing you should be doing right now is holding this camera here and waiting for the police to use violence and trying to catch it. That's the only thing you should be doing once you've had these people put into a static tactic like this, because the police will not be able to move you. I guarantee they will not be able to move you. Now, you see here on the end screen, there's a lot of data and a lot of information going on, okay? This stuff you don't really have to worry about. It's what happens down here and on these numbers here. They're the big thing. Now, see in the background, they've just popped smoke in to try and get rid of us. And you see with smoke, I don't know if you can, how well you can see it on the background, but everyone dissipates from smoke. But you also see when the smoke disappears, they come back. Now, you see here that the police moved cautiously and the rioters were completely peaceful, but we did resist the attack, so there won't be an advantage for either faction in the next event. Okay? If the police attacked with smoke and I got it on camera, we would gain a massive political advantage and we would have an advantage for the next map, because the police would have used violence and the rioters would have been peaceful. Ergo, the police are using unnecessary force, and ergo, the rioters on the next map would have an advantage. So that was the static tactical style or strategy for the rebels. Now we're going to look into more resistance. Now here you see we have an objective of displacement. So it is the rioters' objective to move the cops out of an area, stop them getting to an area, or getting the rioters to an area. I know that's a bit confusing, so I'll go over it again. With displacement, we're either going to get the rioters to an area, move the cops out of an area, or stop the cops from getting to an area. Everything will make sense once I get into the game. Now for this, you want as many people as possible. So you want to get rid of all of these flags. You'll see with the participation, it ups and downs the numbers with removing the flags. You want to get rid of all the flags because you don't want any demonstrators. You want people that are going to be active. Now on the defensive gear, quite honestly, you can usually go between basic and defenseless depending on what the objective going, well, not depending on what the objective is going to be, depending on what the police violence is going to be. Now, this is the first mission of the Italian, so I'm not expecting the police to put up much violence, so I'm happy to go with defenseless to get me a bit more people. Now, this isn't a guaranteed number, this is just an expected, so it could be a bit higher, it could be a bit lower. Now, when I'm doing this kind of a setup, I always have two different levels. You go for the non-violent use, which is going to assist you, and in case things ramp up a bit and get a bit crazy. Because you always want your style of a way to kind of attack them while being peaceful, and you also want to have your backup in case things do go a bit crazy. So you see here we have 4 groups once again, and you can press tab to go between each group. Now, the cops are trying to displace us from this area and remove these tents. So we want to create a line to stop the cops. Now, when you're doing this, peacefulness is your absolute best friend. You want to keep everything as peaceful as you possibly can for as long as you possibly can. Now, The police want to get to this area, so the only thing we have to do is block them. Now, the problem is, if we use this hold position again, it will make all of our people stand there with their hands up. However, it won't be very efficient at actually stopping the police if they try and push through. All we want to create here is a thick line of people. That's all we want to do. Now, you will have to be quite careful, because when these guys start popping smoke, it's not going to be too easy. So you see on this side, the police are using stimulants, which is going to make them harder to resist. Now you see there, because the cops were using unnecessary violence on an otherwise peaceful force, we got a massive, massive gain. Now see here, these are blue, these are red, okay? This is from this dial up here. If it's down, they'll be violent. It's up, they'll be peaceful. But at the end of the day, these guys are still human beings. You know, they're only going to put up with so much pushing and shoving before they start getting violent against the cops, okay? Now, this might turn into a bit of an interesting situation, so I'm going to try and force the cops back a bit more, if I possibly can. Now, I'm actually going to manually turn these guys back to see if I can push these guys back up the hill. And you do have to do a bit of spam clicking here to keep the pressure on. You see, all I'm doing here is creating a wall of people to stop the cops getting through. Because my objective is to just stop them getting into this area and destroying these tents. I don't have to do anything else. Now you see, they are turning violent here, so I'm going to grab my camera and try and snap a shot. And you see, I got massive amounts of score. Now, you see, when you're using the camera, this will change this outcome. So you see here, we had a large number of rebels wounded, very small number of police wounded. Oh no, sorry, wrong way around. No, it is the right way around. We had a massive number of rebels wounded, and we did very little violence at all. So you'll see here, mild acts of violence, heavy acts of violence, and I caught them in the action with the camera. So this will lead to an extreme advantage on the rioters during the next time. Whether you're using the resistant or the static strategy, you only want to use violence if the police do, and the camera is your absolute best friend. If you can catch the police using violence on peaceful protesters, and the absolute jackpot is to get a picture of police using violence, or the tear gas, or the smoke, or whatever they use, or the shields with violence, on peaceful protesters with their hands up that are sitting down, that will give you a huge, huge score. An absolutely huge score. So you'll see here, the rebels have a massive military advantage because of the violence the police used in that. Our political strength has gone down by 37, but theirs, because they used the violence on peaceful protesters, has gone down by 70. That is a massive, massive amount. So if the police use violence, we will now have an advantage on the next map. And that's always the key. You always have to think about what the effect of the actions you're doing will have on the next map. Because yeah, you could go really violent and absolutely destroy forces on this map and like complete the level in 30 seconds. But the chances of the police then getting an extreme advantage on you on the next map will be huge, and you will get absolutely decimated, and it will just turn into a complete violent chaosness, and you will just be throwing Molotovs and smoke and all kinds, and everything will just be crazy. The problem is, if that happens, this political result and the military result will go in favour of the police, because you have been violent on the round before and the police are only reacting to that violence. So no matter how much violence the police use, even if you're peaceful, no matter how much violence the police use, they will still be in the right, because they're expecting violence because of the previous map. So everything in this game has cause and effect, and the longer you can keep things peaceful and achieve your objective, the easier the entire game will be for the rest of that campaign in that certain country. So that was the two strategies that I personally use for the rebels. The static and resistant strategy seemed to cover pretty much every single scenario the game has to offer so far. Now, I will be doing a separate video for the police tactics, which do vary a bit and do change a bit depending on the scenario, once again the same as the rebels do. But once again, if you are using a static, just hold position. It doesn't matter if the police surround you, they are trying to remove you from the area. It doesn't matter if they surround you. Stay peaceful and just stay in that set area. Put a point down and sit down. If the police use violence, it's only in your gain, and if you can catch it on camera, jackpot. With the resistant, all you have to do is stop the police from getting to their objective, or push the police back to a point where you can achieve your objective. And don't use violence until the police do. Once the police use violence, you can get a bit more violent. As long as the police act first, you are in the right. Now, obviously, if you go into a riot in real life, please don't use these tactics. This is only for the game. I'm not condoning rioting in any form and any style. These tactics are only for this game of Riot Civil Unrest. But if you have enjoyed it, please leave a like rating below the video and subscribe to the channel. I will be doing further videos on this game. I absolutely love this game to bits. And if you have any questions at all, the same as the Men of War series that I do, if you have any questions at all, please leave them down in the comment section below and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. I love this game, I adore this game, I hope it gets developed further on. I have heard that workshop support will be coming out in the future, as well as further missions they're going to do, as well as historic events such as the Ukrainian Revolution, the London riots, and some of the riots in the US as well. As always, thank you very much for watching. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night. And wherever you are in the universe, stay awesome, and I will see you in the next video.